And now I'm happy to say my guest is here, Mike Flaherty, who is running for the school committee. And welcome.
Thank you.
I'm so glad to see you.
Thank you.
Because otherwise I had to sit here and twiddle my fingers for a half hour.
I just got my son on the bus, and then I came right down.
Oh, okay. So your son does attend
Oh, yes, yes,
Wareham Public Schools.
yes.
Very good to see you.
Thank
Very
you.
good.
I love your show, by the way. I just started watching it about a month ago, and it's like, I tape it all the time now, so.
Oh,
I really
thank
like
you.
it, yeah.
Thank you. That's always good to hear because I'm trying to have, right now I'm doing all the candidates, but I'm trying to get interesting things. And I just talked to somebody yesterday who's going to talk about pit bulls and rescuing pit bulls, which really have a bad rep.
Yeah.
And so I hope that'll help people to understand
Yeah.
the dog.
Absolutely.
Okay, but over to the school committee, that's why you're here. So why are you running?
Am I running? And I'm just, at the risk of repeating what I said the other night at candidates night, I'm running because I see what all the other parents see and how things are going on with the schools, and we're not getting what we need. I think a lot of that has to do, obviously, with the financial situation we're in, but also what I refer to as the adversarial relationship that exists but is getting better with the school committee right now, where basically, they're always at odds with the Board of Selectmen, and they get pretty defensive when the Board of Selectmen actually has legitimate questions and such. Things kind of devolve into turf wars, and you probably remember there was a vote of no confidence and such, and we need to get way beyond that. Nothing gets done with stuff like that, and I know how to work with people. I do it at the state and federal level with what I do outside of other volunteer work is fisheries management. And I work with so many different stakeholders that are at each other's throats at times, but we find common ground and get things done. So that's what I think I could bring to the school committee, is working with people and finding common ground.
That will be very, very good. I know. I remember the vote of no confidence. But when I hear things like that, I right away think, well, once you hear that, let's work together and get beyond that. And that doesn't seem to be happening.
No, and in fairness, I really should say, and I didn't say this at candidates night, and I apologize. One of the other candidates for school committee, Mr. Sweat, he abstained from that vote, and I give him a lot of credit for that. So yeah.
Yeah, Jeff. Well, I know Jeff well. I served with Jeff on the finance committee, so I know how he can try to work with people.
It's incredible. I attended this past the joint meeting over the weekend, Saturday. It was a 3.5-hour meeting, and you had the Board of Selectmen, the Finance Committee, and some members of the school committee. They didn't have a quorum, but yeah, I mean, it was all about looking for some leadership here to move forward with some of these debt exclusion articles, and unfortunately, it didn't. There wasn't a consensus among the Board of Selectmen to at least not oppose them, just kind of be silent on them and let them kind of go where they may. And I think that was a missed opportunity for a lot of those boards to come together.
Too bad.
Yeah.
But as it goes.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you think are the most important issues or concerns for Wareham Public Schools?
Wareham Public Schools, well, the quality of the education. I mean, people need to know when their kid graduates from the Wareham Public School system that the diploma is going to mean something. I mean, even if we are accredited, I mean, there's a reputation too. I mean, when you're applying for schools, and that's what we're concerned about when our son gets to be that age. I mean, even though he was a great student, if his diploma says Wareham, is that going to be held against him? And when I talk with parents, that's probably one of the top issues. That is one of the top issues. And right side by side with that is the teacher to student ratios. I mean, our teachers are overwhelmed at times. I mean, really are. And now we're looking, I mean, if certain debt exclusion articles do or don't go the right way, then we're looking to lose a lot more, you know, in the Deacon's school, in the Minot school, in the high school. Not the Minot, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Deacon's and Minot and the high school. Middle school took the hit last year. So we got to stop that trend. I like to say, you know, the status quo is not acceptable, and we're looking at below status quo, you know.
Do you think that getting maybe more volunteers from parents would help at all?
It would. I mean, it's always tough to get volunteers. It's funny. I mean, not funny, I should say, but when
people work.
Well, they do work and stuff, but it's always the same people that show up to these things. You know, whenever people are asked, it's always the same, like 7, you know, parents that show up. I mean, I remember the last year they put out a notice to all parents for like MCAS prep. You know, so for parents, so they can, like, you know, basically prep your kid to say, you know, to do's and don'ts before the day of MCAS and how to encourage them and don't change the routine and that sort of thing, and any questions and such. You know, and 7 people show up to that, and how many kids are taking that test in the whole school?
Right.
You know, but to get parents more involved in general, I mean, maybe not just in the schools, but I mean, just to get parents aware, there's a lot we can do. For example, I'm the chair of the Library Board of Trustees. Right?
Yes.
And one of the first things I did when I was chair is I made it absolutely clear that during our meetings, you know, we have a little like public participation section, kind of like the Board of Selectmen do. That, I made it clear that portion of the meeting is just for items that are not on the agenda. If you want to bring something to the board's attention, you know, great, use that time. But for any item that's on the agenda, the public's input isn't just welcome, it's encouraged. We want to hear during the agenda items. All right, and that was very well received. But we'd limit that to maybe like 2 minutes per you know, person, just to keep the meeting going.
So what you're saying is like, if I'm getting what you're saying,
yeah, I haven't
a lot of
finished the thought,
times,
but yeah.
a lot of times, well, when I'm watching a selectmen's meeting and they have the participation by the people, they come up with their, and some of the items they come up with are very legitimate. But as you go down the agenda, there may be something that's on the agenda that you would have liked to have commented about.
Absolutely.
And you don't have that.
Absolutely.
And I don't know what the answer to that is.
The answer is to let people talk, but you know, let them limit it to about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
This is how Wareham does things. Like I said, I work in the state with state agencies, federal agencies, and when there's meetings, I mean, they understand that you're taking time out of your day to go to these meetings. They want to hear from you. Whereas here, it's like it depends on the board, you know, if they want to hear from you or not. I mean, no, really. I mean, they have a little token, a token citizens participation. Okay, you're done. You can go home now and watch it from TV. I mean, you know. But it's at our trustee meetings. That's what we do. We want involvement from the public, and I'd really encourage that on the school committee too. You get more parents in the room if they actually had some kind of say, some kind of input, real input. You know, not just thank you for your time. Now go home and watch it on TV. You know, because you can't really do anything else while you're here. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You know, so,
that's right.
So that would be
the only alternative you have is really to approach maybe before the meeting starts the various members, or try to grab them when the meeting is over.
Yes.
Which sometimes I find to be very difficult to try to do that, because there may be issues that come up that you want to think about or go home and think about, and someone's going to come up and pin you down for an answer, and that makes it difficult.
Yeah.
It would be much better if it could come up when it happens.
Yeah, in real time, so that you can, so that you can, if you know something that really should be brought into the discussion, you could bring that up, and maybe it might have an impact, it might not, but at least you had your say, you had your chance, and that's not happening right now.
Right.
In a lot of the boards, not just some of the ones that we're discussing now, but
yeah. So thank you for that. Do you think that the representatives at the state level and the governor are calculating enough funds for our schools?
No, no. It's funny you should say that. I keep saying it's funny. It's not funny.
Yeah.
But no, they're not. And everyone will tell you it's all based on an antiquated formula. But it's like so much. You know, everybody knows what the problem is, but nobody wants to do anything about it. And if you listen to Mr. Sweat, he's made this point many times, and I've got no reason to doubt him. He said that, you know, Wareham used to be the exception. You know, he'd say that you know, it used to be 20% of the towns were in the bind that we're in, and the other 80% are fine. And nowadays it's flipped. Now 80% of the towns are in the bind we're in, and 20% are not.
Right.
And now, I think the next step. Now I know that Mr. Sweat and Rendezvous again and the superintendent, they went, you know, up to the State House, the Department of Education, to, you know, talk about this formula. It was pretty much, it was kind of a token. They
listened, but
they didn't get anywhere. But it's a formality. You have to do that, all right? But the next step, and this is what I would do as a school committee member. I'd really push this among my colleagues. The next step is to now, as a school committee, talk to these other school committees in these other 80% of the towns, and talk to their state reps and talk to their state senators and say, you know, we're the 80% now. Let's fix this.
Right.
You know, and that's the next step. But that's long term. You know, even if that did work out, I mean, you're looking at maybe a couple of years before any real, you know, action. I mean, there are some short term things that we need to look at too. But we got to get the ball rolling on that. And that frankly is kind of what I do separately as my volunteer work in fisheries management. I mean, when we don't get action, you know, we build coalitions and we get things done. I don't know if you're aware of I sued the federal government. I sued every state on the eastern seaboard for the mismanagement of river herring, and we won. You know, and that gets done by working. I'm a recreational fisherman. I had to work with commercial fishermen, environmentalists, state directors, and it's building those kind of coalitions where, like I said, a lot of times on so many other issues we're at each other's throats, but we come together when we know that things are so mismanaged, and that can be done at the state level with the funding formula for the schools. But it needs to get done.
It needs to be sort of, I guess, followed through on.
Yes,
which
followed, exactly.
They don't seem to do.
Yeah. A lot of great ideas. You need the follow through. You need the execution. Absolutely.
Yes.
So many good ideas, but it takes real people doing them to get it done. Yeah.